welcome back. And we're moving into our second conversation for today as we're joined by representatives of Petal. We have with us on set Charrice Talbert, who is the treasurer. In the middle, we have Simone Hill, who is the coordinator. And on the end, we have Ifasina Efunyemi, who is the secretary. Good morning and welcome.
Oh, thank you. Good morning.
Now, ladies, we are talking about the work that Petal has been doing and also your anniversary. So let's go back to the beginning so that we can understand the significance of this anniversary.
The beginning.
The start. When this round table decided to be able to formalize an organization.
Well, 2011 is when the first conversation, we didn't even used to call it conversation at that time. Yeah. That was Simone's brainchild, and it was coming out of a personal experience. And so she decided to bring women together and even asked me to come in from Dangriga to be a part of that, which was focusing on cervical cancer. And then we started to have those meetings more often, getting women together, particularly of the lesbian population, to talk about issues that were related to their rights, human rights, the sexual and reproductive health. And so we looked at domestic violence, we looked at legal issues, other legal issues that impact on women, a lot more on sexual and reproductive health and rights. And so the conversations, that term came up in 2012, once she, very strategic, because she recruited women who were skilled, which is good. It's a good idea for leadership. Is you don't always have to be at the forefront as long as you have a team with you that's able, that has the skill, especially the diversity of skills that you need to organize things. And so with Dr. McKay's input, the term conversations came up because it would not be workshop or training or seminar or meeting, you know.
I think that sounds boring.
Yeah, it needs to be something that people would feel comfortable to be at, because that's what conversations do. They provide that safe space, particularly for the lesbian population, to just be able to talk.
And I think, you know, it is actually very powerful because conversations also means that you are openly sharing. And typically, when we talk about whether it's the LGBTI population, conversations don't happen as much. It's usually shush, behind closed doors, or where nobody else is listening, or in code in some form. Now, one of the things I find interesting is when Petal established itself, promoting empowerment through awareness for lesbian and bisexual women, the main question I have was, well, there's UNIBAM, you know, that is representative of a general LGBTI population. Why was it necessary, or why did you find it so important to be able to have a specified group for women, lesbian and bisexual women?
Well, I realized that at UNIBAM, even though things were being done, I believe it was not sufficient. And then I, speaking to some other women who identified as myself, they wanted an organization that would cater specifically for them, and hence the reason why Petal was started.
Yeah. And what were perhaps the issues that are unique to lesbian and bisexual women that you really, because if you have a specified group like this, it gives you a platform to be able to bring issues that directly affect you. What were the conversations about primarily in terms of concerns from this population?
Well, I want to say, first of all, I was very concerned about the exclusion of this population when it came to vulnerability to HIV, for example. So response to HIV did not necessarily cater to this particular group of women, because there was the illusion that, okay, if you're lesbian or bisexual, that means you're not necessarily going to be HIV positive, or there were allegedly statistics that suggested that this is not a key population, this is not a vulnerable group of women. But that, of course, is not true. Once you're a woman, you're vulnerable, very vulnerable because of many factors. You're vulnerable, and certainly if you're black, if you're uneducated, if you're unemployed, if you're growing up in the south of the country, there's so many different things, and a lot of the members of our organization, that is their experience, that is their reality. So targeting that issue was one of the things that we saw as key, because this is a group of women, this is a population that, yeah, people are not walking around saying I'm lesbian or I'm bisexual, but because people are paying attention to people's lives and then decide that, oh, you living this particular way makes you a good person, and you living this particular way makes you a bad person. And so there are all of these things that then you are subjected to, like stigma and discrimination, because maybe two women are living in the same household, or two women are raising children.
Let me ask a question. How challenging has it been to carry out the work of Petal, considering the fact that perhaps our society to a certain extent is still pretty much either closed or narrow-minded in terms of our view of individuals and their sexuality, and communities and their sexuality?
It's not as challenging as it could be, maybe because of our determination. And then, of course, being strategic about that, being conscious. Because one of the things with Belize is that there's a greater tolerance for women. So we take advantage of that. Besides that, we are strong women. So we're not the ones that will be afraid to speak out on issues. And when we create our spaces, we make sure that those spaces are safe, which is something that is natural to women, I would think. Ensuring safety for themselves and for their children, for their family, is something that women do all the time. So that is one of the things that has made it easier for us to do our work.
Yeah, I'm glad you answered that. I was going to ask whether or not you feel that there is less stigma and discrimination for women who are homosexuals, lesbians, or bisexuals, versus what we see so often and so blatantly for men who have sex with men. What are your thoughts?
It is that the good thing is that it's not that women have not faced discrimination, because the other members of my team and myself, we can talk of our personal experiences with discrimination. And when we did our needs assessment in 2016, the same year we did our launch, we did a needs assessment of lesbian women, and we spoke to 56 of them. And most of them had experienced stigma and discrimination, particularly in the workplace, in public spaces, and even within their families. So it's not that that's not happening. It's just that maybe we're not facing the same extent of violence, for example, or that violence is not reported, because it would generally be gender-based violence. It might be sexual assault. There are those experiences.
I'm glad. Let me push a little bit further. I read an article about this issue, and I thought it was very fascinating, because it's a difference in the discrimination that you face, and it doesn't make it any more or less harmful. The reaction from intolerant persons to males who are homosexuals tends to be violent. It's hatred. It's I don't like you, I don't like what you do. With women, it is degrading. It is the I can teach you to like what I like. Oh, I want to talk about what you do with your partner, and really just, of course, that's another form of, that's sexual violence in the harassment that is taking place. And I can only imagine as a woman how frustrating it must be to hear this. How often do you encounter people who want to invade into your personal life and talk about, what they can teach you?
That's something that happens a lot. And for women, Ifasina spoke about the needs assessment that we did. I've noticed that we went across the country of Belize, as well as the Keys, to get that information. It happens a lot, more often than we would like. People always believe they need to know exactly what you're doing, and what you're doing can't be what should be done, because this is the way that it should be done, because society has determined that that is the way it's supposed to be done. So unfortunately, it happens a lot. And people are very rude about it. Mostly men, because they are the ones that seem to want to know what you're doing and how you're doing it and who you're doing it with and why you're doing it with them. And they're very rude and harassing and vulgar when they do it. And to add, that was why A couple of years ago, I wanted to speak with the special envoy because it was something that, you know, when you're in a situation, and this is why human rights is so important, because you look at people and how they are attacked. Like I was, what one would say in a man's world, I was a supervisor at a security company, and people felt like it was their right, men, to tell me what they wanted. And I remember one day I was quite livid over it, and I wanted something to be done. Yeah. Like, why you have the right to come and assault me in terms of words, you know, and things like that. So, and when I come from that place, it is also because of other people, like how some people that are, this is happening to, and then they are not people who will stand up for themselves, you know?
You know, I think any woman understands what this type of harassment feels like, and I can't imagine on your end, or I could only imagine on your end, how frustrating it must be to hear it on a daily basis or as frequently as you speak about. But there's an educational opportunity that comes from it as well. When you have your awareness programs, your empowerment programs, what do you encourage to be the response or to change the conversation in some sort when there is an attack on you in that sense?
First of all, people, that's why the name of the organization is promoting empowerment through awareness. Yeah. Because the conversations have been focused a lot in the past 3 years on human rights, knowing your rights. A lot of people's rights get violated because they're ignorant about them. Yeah. So knowing your rights gives you some power to speak up for yourself. You don't have to speak up for anybody else. You don't have to be advocating for anybody else, but standing up for you. So I think one of the reasons, for example, people may not readily harass an Ifasina, Efunyemi, or a Simone Hill, or a Charrice Talbert, is because here we are, standing, sitting in front of everybody and saying, this is what we're standing for. We know our rights as women. This is the work that we're doing. We're contributing to our country's development. We pay taxes. We are doing positive things in the community. So no, you don't get the right to tell us what you feel like coming out of your mouth just because you have a hole in your face. So women knowing their rights gives them that power. We encourage our women to know when you're in a workplace, this is what's supposed to happen at a workplace. And as a worker, so we've had the Labor Commissioner come and give consultation with women from the lesbian population. And other women have been able to benefit from that because Petal is a women's organization. Yes. So anything that we have, women can come to. And men have come to as well. We've had the forum we had in March, the women's forum, men were in attendance because we see the value of, I mean, we have fathers, we have brothers, we have friends. Men are a part of our life. We have sons. And that's another thing that we encourage with our women, because if we teach them, this is the life that we have been having to deal with, how are you raising your sons to ensure that they do not become the kind of men that will violate you or other women? Yeah.
But isn't it somewhat difficult though, in the sense of women who have kids and then they decide in the later years, if I may, to become lesbians. The challenge I foresee would be the acceptance of the children, right? And in this case, if you have a mixed family where you have boys and girls, it'll probably be a lot more difficult for the boy to come to terms with, well, what my mom has become, so to speak. Doesn't that then make it a lot more difficult or challenging?
I can speak on that personally. Not necessarily. And that is the notion that people have. You become a lesbian. You don't become. It's something that's already a part of you, but you go with what society expects and wants of you. I have 2 children. I have an 18-year-old son and I have a 15-year-old daughter. For my son growing up, it was not necessarily an issue for him, but people around him that made it an issue for him to want to know who wears the pants, which one of those women is the man, and things like that. So it's not necessarily that your child has an issue. It's the bullying that will come from other people that then becomes an issue. So in terms of that, no, it's from society around, the people that are around, Not saying that maybe some children would have an issue, but again, it's because of what you're being taught, that it's wrong, that it's not right, you're not supposed to do this, they're not supposed to do that, you're going to go to hell, and all these things. And also educating your children. Because I have a grandson, he's 6 years old, and I don't know who asked him, told him, but he came to me and said, Granny, you're a woman. And so, you know, my grandson has been around me from the day he was born. So then I educated him, I spoke to him. So it is also with speaking with your children, and with anything, we know that you have to speak with your children before somebody else speak to them, and let them be aware of things.
Yeah. Yep. And education is empowering. I mean, I don't have any children of my own, but I have a lot of children that I am exposed to because I have nieces, I have nephews.
And you're in the school system.
And I am an educator. So what I see as valuable is allowing children to see you for who you are. So they don't see my sex life. My sex life is not their business because I don't have sex in public. So that does not become an issue. Even if the children that I encounter, their parents have an issue, it ceases to be an issue with the children, because what they see is this woman who is standing out there and educating everybody, and she has a radio show, and she is an educator, and she knows a lot, and she facilitates sessions. So that's who they see. She doesn't throw garbage on the street. She says hello. She talks us.
Upright citizen.
Yes. So that's what they see.
Yeah.
That's what they see, and I give children a lot of credit, because children are so sincere. And it is adults that corrupt children, unfortunate, but it is adults that do that. But once children get to see you, they get to know you, they accept you, they respect you, they are the human beings that teach us how to be.
That is so true. Children love indiscriminately. We learn the discriminatory practices that we have in our adulthood. And I wanted to talk about, you know, when we talk about a tolerant society, or we talk about the human rights, just a human rights base in how we view things, I find that oftentimes people want to pick and choose what works best for them, rather than human beings are human beings. Precisely. There's been a lot of conversation of women empowerment, and women standing up against sexual violence, gender-based violence, street harassment, and all of these different issues. And there's been speculation as to whether or not it's just all talk. You know, many women talk about being most victimized in terms of speech, hate speech, by other women. And I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about that, because I think that so often, as a women's group, people are saying, oh, you know, they're talking about women's rights again, and then when something happens, the women will be the first to attack you there. Talk to us about that aspect.
The thing is, maybe that's not fully true, and so that's a propaganda that we're pushing, just like when they say that black people are lazy, and then we keep repeating this lie. The lie becomes the truth, and then the truth becomes the lie. So it isn't that women always, you know, downgrade other women. It isn't always that women are not supportive of other women. The more that we have been empowering each other, the more supportive we have been of each other. Yeah. So it is the naysayers on the side that start that buzz that, oh, women don't support other women, but we wouldn't have been able to do the amount of work that we have done and be successful. Yeah. And even other women's organizations have also been successful because they've been consistent in supporting each other. And it's the outsiders that try to say, no, women don't, but that's a lie. Yeah. And the more we are progressing, every year we come here and are able to tell you, this is the progress that we have made, is so that we can see that, yeah, we are in support of each other, and that is not true that women don't support each other. Yes, maybe to a small extent it may happen. Those women who are men with vaginas then, those women who are very patriarchal and conservative in their approach. They might not support other women. They will be discriminatory against other women because women are standing up and doing the thing that they themselves do not have the strength or the will to do. But it isn't true that women don't support each other.
Great.
Let's
go ahead. Well, I was going to talk about your achievements in the past year as you celebrate your anniversary, because I don't want to lose the opportunity. We know you've been working, and we see quite a number of images on the screen as well, workshop conversations, taking place. Talk to us about some of the milestones you've been reaching.
Well, presently for this year, there's two major projects that we're doing. One of them is the Sydney database. It's the shared incidents database, which is being done through CVCC, Caribbean Vulnerable Coalition Communities. This is a platform that was designed for human rights violations to be logged.
Okay.
And Petal was actually the first ones to sign on to that. So we actually now have a mechanism in place providing us with data that we always keep saying that we don't have. So we now have a space for us to be collecting the data of the abuse cases. There is also our Buddies program, also being done through CVCC. This is for building understanding of the dilemmas and difficulties in engaging services. This goes with the 1990 goal in terms of having that understanding of accessing the healthcare services that people living with HIV face, and so to have some trained peer navigators being able in all spaces to provide some sort of assistance and having more people access, more people getting tested, more people getting medication and staying in care. So those are two of the major things that we've been doing, along with some other things that we do. We do our regular conversations.
Yeah.
We do our personal and professional development trainings as well. Yeah. So even though we have what's set out mostly for the women in the community, we have spaces like the personal and professional development trainings that goes to, it's open because it's for your personal and professional development. So when people come, they may see mails and like, isn't Petal for only women? No, we have certain spaces that's created that everybody's able to gain something, because as we said, we want to promote empowerment through awareness and always educating in the spaces that we're in.
From inception to now, what are you most proud of on an individual level?
Wow. On an individual level, well, for me, it is that when I started the organization, because I saw the need to become aware myself of the laws and how to navigate to assist women, I went back to school, and that was something great. Yeah. And even though I am in school, I do work at Petal, volunteer, and the struggles of going to school at my age. And I tend to be, get bored, I like to say, easily. And I am in school and it's a struggle. Sometimes I want to give up, but because I already started and because I know that women, because we started this movement, this thing, women depend, they come to you for advice, and most of it are on a legal basis. Yeah. And to quickly say something before the other two ladies say their individual. And I am so happy because I just learned that I got accepted to become the community legal paralegal within Belize, to blend in with the Sydney database, to give advice and try to find lawyers that that do pro bono work and things like that.
Awesome.
So I am excited.
So if somebody has a violation that they want help with, They come to you
Yes.
and you feed it into the international
Yes.
system, and they maybe
Yes,
they would be
and-
able to resolve the issue.
Yes, and also right within Belize, like
Yes.
I can take them to the ombudsman
Yes.
office, wherever they need to get that
Assistance.
redress assistance, whatever
Yeah.
it is that they need. So,
Okay.
yes.
What am I proud of? So many things, because I like to persevere. I'm very optimistic, and being involved in women's advocacy has been a part of my life for a very long time. So being a part of Petal is just me continuing on my path of being that voice for the voiceless, and working for and with women to see our progress, so that we own our space and live to the best of our ability in contributing to our communities. So what I'm proud of is how consistent we have been in Petal in making sure that the things that we do, we continue to do, and more women are able to benefit from them. It strengthens my capacity. The more I have to teach people, the more I know. And so every chance I get as a facilitator for conversations, or even participating in our own trainings, because this weekend we had a PDT and it was on financial literacy, and I was able to benefit from that as well. So as I am teaching, I am learning and growing, and that is what I am proud of, because Petal provides that opportunity.
I think I'm most proud whenever I hear something from one of our members or somebody that we encounter, and they are able to know what it is that Petal does.
Yeah.
I feel very proud of that, because to know that what we're doing makes a difference, and a difference in a good way. So.
Now, do you encounter in your organization that people are still hesitant to disclose their identity or their relationship with the organization?
Yes.
Yes, and we realize it's from the inception, we realize it, and even though we get feedback, and one would say, well, you're doing these things for the community, for them to empower themselves, people are still hesitant. I want to also say that I am so happy that Petal started this Valentine's Gala, which is our signature event for fundraiser, because sustainability you have to look at. You can't always rely on funders from outside and things like that. And we thought, you go into things thinking, yes, people will be happy to come out. But people are still closeted, and that is okay. I look for their support though, and
they tend to offer it in other ways.
Yes, they tend to offer it in other ways, so that's a good thing, that's a positive.
So you accommodate for persons who are still not ready yet to have their full disclosure as to their sexual orientation, and how do you ensure that the information reaches out to them as well, whether it's legal aspects like ensuring your children and guardianship is protected for, or whatever else?
Well, one of the things is it's through the Facebook, and also doing with our peer educators, and you have to have that, like when you're doing research, that snowball effect.
Okay.
So you encourage people that have attended things to speak about it, and you also give your number out to people. You know that some people reach us and they've never come to a conversation, but they reach out because of the Facebook page, or maybe a friend have told them and they have your number.
Awesome.
So yeah.
And we come here.
Yeah.
We come to the media. We also allow or encourage family members and friends to be a part of our activities. So if it is that there is a family member who is not out, and also I want to clarify that coming to a Petal event does not out you.
Yes.
Because it's just a,
And it's not only for lesbians and bisexuals, it's for people who support.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Because you do want them to
So you
support.
can come and you can learn and you can benefit. So, for example, my siblings, when we had our fun day yesterday, my mom was there, my sisters. You understand? It's like, it's for the family, because we have family members and we have friends who are part of the community. So the more you know, the more you can be a support to your family members. So when you get the information, you can pass it on. You, in your own right, are a peer navigator then, because the information you have, you can share with the people that are closest to you.
And to add to that as well, you asked Marlene in terms of coming and for the people that are not out. As Ifasina said, when you come to a Petal event, it's not for you to identify yourself. You're just coming as a participant. Now, in terms of becoming a member, that then you will know if you choose to be a member, which you'd have to be identify as a lesbian woman to be a member, or you just like to be a supporter. So coming through that door, you don't have to say, I am a lesbian, I'm present, or I'm bisexual, I'm present. No, you're just coming as a supporter. Yes, you're just coming as a participant in whatever the session is that we're having.
All right. That's funny.
And I also want to say another thing that on a organization level that I am proud of is because once I met people in the region that have these workshops, trainings, what have you, I wanted something to come to Belize. And so this year we will be hosting the CWSDC
Caribbean Women
and Sexual Diversity
Conference.
Yes.
That's
When
going
is
to be
that
held
going
in
to be?
October.
Yes.
So there's
Very
going to be roughly about 50 women from across the Eastern and Western Caribbean that's going to be here in Belize.
And I also look at these things that they bring in money to Belize. So I wanted things to come to Belize for us to showcase what we have in the country. And as a tour guide by trade, whenever people come into Belize, I would take them to the various Maya sites and things like that to promote Belize. And people always want to return. And so when we have sister organizations and things like that, they always want to go to the Keys and like that. So it is fantastic to promote Belize.
So that comes up in October. Obviously, that's going to be one of the
be
things
for a
you're
week.
working towards in the upcoming year.
Yes.
Any other big projects in the pipeline?
Well, we make sure, with the support of COC Netherlands, we have a work plan for the year, so we have conversations every month. We also have the professional and personal development trainings that are happening. Like I said, this weekend we just had one on financial literacy, and we're going to be doing more on employability, helping people to prepare for the workplace, setting up resumes and stuff like that. We also look at etiquette and our goal setting. So those are some of the topics we'll be covering for the PDTs. We're going to be doing our own training as a team in terms of operating, making sure we have our, strengthening ourselves as the leaders of the organization. This year we want to have an AGM, so we're going to expand the team so that more women can be in the leadership of Petal. We want to also provide training in computer literacy to our members. So we're going to be doing some livelihood skills trainings as well, woodwork, things that are going to help you to develop economically, because that's definitely an area of need. We had our women's forum in March. That was also a great accomplishment. That image is from that. And we're going to continue to do outreach in the community. So our conversations are going across the country. We're doing Kaya District, we're doing Belize District, we're doing, we've done Dangriga and Toledo, and we're going to go back to Dangriga and Toledo. The topics, we're focusing on our sexual and reproductive health and rights, and we're also looking at stigma and discrimination, and and human rights, and how parents can train their children to be human rights conscious, so that they're not, the next generation is not discriminatory as what we are experiencing. So it's a busy year for Petal. Very busy.
Progressive outlook too, in terms of being able to either change or sculpt the mindset of the younger generation to be more open-minded and tolerant, as one would say.
That's why for our fun day yesterday, what we wanted to showcase was that families are families, no matter what. It's not prescribed by anybody. Families are families, people who are together and who care about each other and see to each other's well-being. So we had a lot of families that are led by women with their children at the fun day yesterday to create that kind of space for them to know you're not the only one, you're not unique, and this is not bad, this is not a bad thing, this is great, this is wholesome, and families are supposed to be supportive.
Because that was born out of some of the women speaking about their children feeling that they're in isolation, like they're the only one with two mothers, you know. So that was what propelled us to create that fund space, or that space.
Well, it seems like you have quite a bit of work ahead, and of course, if anybody wants to be updated on information from Petal, you are on Facebook. Yes. That's how most people get in touch with you, right?
Yes.
So that they can find out about when the workshops are happening, or if they want to get
conversations.
Oh, sorry, the conversations and the professional training. Yes. That's what I wanted to say, so that they can participate or support as well.
Yes. And since it is open to all women, you yourself should come and be in a Petal conversation. You also should come and be at one of the PDTs or something like that.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. Happy anniversary, and best of luck with the projects that you have ahead.
All right.
We're going to go ahead and take a final break, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap-up, so stay tuned.